All right. So one thing I wanted to talk about, but I really kind of ran out of time and I would rather take a little more time to show this aspect, is how to actually role play and give some more technical examples and maybe some actual like on the fly ones. Not sure how interesting this will be, but it might give you an idea as to how to start, give you some plans. And so let's quickly do this. Starting from scratch, let's make a new profile, not use my existing one, which is all nice and organized. Let's make one and let's try to make a serious character. Let's call her Fang. We'll call her Fang. Let's see, Lotus Paw. No, we'll do Fang Billow Reed. Fang Billow Reed. Okay. Now we're going to select that profile. So we're in profiles in TRP. To open this, the main thing you do is you highlight yourself. You see this little scroll, you click on it. Now we don't have much going on here. First, we know this is going to be called Fang Billow Reed. So we're going to rename our first name. We're going to be Fang, last name Billow Reed. We're going to do a quick profile, but try to make this something functional so I can give an example. Her title. Let's say, we'll say her title is Arcane Monk. We'll make something up. Or let's do a scroll. Let's do a scroll collector or historian. Let's do historian. That's more fun. And full title, we'll say lore walker in training, because lore walkers are a thing in WoW. So we'll say she's trying to become a lore walker. She's Pandaren. Her class, we're just going to be called a historian. We're not going to be a monk this time. Her age, let's say she's 45. Residence, let's say she just lives in Kunlai. That's where her home is. Eye color. I can choose a color here. I can actually choose a literal one by selecting this little section here. We're going to keep her to look like her model, so we'll make it a nice light green. And we'll say, you know, jade green. Birthplace, we'll say she's also born in Kunlai, which is in WoW, just to keep it easy. I could set a position for where I currently am standing if I really wanted to. Height, we'll just do a general thing. You can always say you're short, you're tall, you're average. Let's go with short. Actually, you know what? Let's make her a younger character. Let's make her 14 or 15. 16. No. Yeah, I don't want to be a younger character. No, let's not do that right now. Too much work right now. Body shape. Let's say she is thin for panda. Relationship status, let's say single. And let's, you know what, let's dive her down to 30, 31. No, let's dive her down to 20, 23. Because if she was old, she wouldn't be in training still. So let's say she's 23. She's, you know, smart enough to have some ideas, but she's still a little foolhardy. Let's add some features and like a facial thing. Let's add, we don't need a guild name. We don't need a hot. We can do a motto. We can do a nickname. We can do piercings. We can do pronouns. Oops, I put piercings twice. We can do pronouns. We're not going to do voice references. And let's create one. Let's name it likes. You guys can see how that works. I can choose an icon here so I can search for something. Let's say, let's pick a Pandaren thing because I want to have something that has to do with that. So I'll pick this bouncy one, which looks fun. Good, we have something there. We can make our profile a little bigger here to see. Personality traits, let's put chaotic and lawful, forgiving, vindictive, altruistic, selfish. Now these are helpful for me to kind of round out who this character is going to be. Obviously, I'm just kind of going off the top of my head here, so it's going to be a little quick. Let's say facial features. We can say she is stern and tired because she's, you know, always studying. Motto. Where's my coffee? You know, sure. Nickname. Let's say she gets called Billows. Piercings. Let's say earrings. So both sides. Pronouns. She's going to be she, her, because I want her to be clear what she is. Likes. Let's say scrolls, history, learning, and let's say being alone. Now let's write, let's make sure we save this. So we save this page. Now we have a little bit of our character kind of coming into organization. I could even change my icon. Let's change my icon away from that basic Pandaren one to give myself something a little bit with a little more character. I like to pick something that maybe like has relevance with the character, because often you're not going to find an icon that perfectly matches. So something that looks like a scroll, like this one right here, looks pretty perfect. Let's go with that. Now we have a little scroll, fits her character a bit. She started to take some shape. We have a title. So things are kind of going okay. Let's go to our about section. Now, I had a very fancy one on my main character. I'll show that one later. But let's pick a simple thing where the template's easy so anyone can do it. Template 3, if you select that, has some pre-set up things for it already. It makes it a little bit neater. Now, I could even change the different backgrounds for each section if I really want to. You don't have to do that, obviously, but it is something you could do if you prefer to do something kind of fancy. Shimmied up to me. Let's do a quick editing here. So we got this stuff kind of going. We have a physical description. So let's say Fang is your typical tired out researcher. She has frazzled out hair. I think that's the right word for it. And generally is slumped over books. Once in a while, it's just not slumped over books. Her posture is a little on the poor side, and she often forgets to eat. Her fur is not dirty per se, but it could certainly use more brushing. She is not particularly fit or blessed in any area. For all intents and purposes, she is rather plain looking. Her glasses being the only standout feature. Still, once in a while, she tries to look nice, but her awkward mannerisms make this difficult. So I give a kind of an idea of who the character is. Maybe not the perfect physical description, but it's to give somebody an idea of what they would maybe get from looking at this character. So you can kind of get a little creative with it. Personality traits, let's say hardworking, focused, detail-oriented. We'll say neglects sleep. I'm just doing a quick thing here because I don't want to take forever, but it gives you an idea of what you could put in. Let's see what else. Open-minded, curious, and let's say enjoys collecting trinkets. Family, back home. History, let's say, oh, let me say hello to this person. Okay. History. Let's say they grew up in Kunlai. Let's say they are studying, become a lore walker, but need more experience. And let's see what this looks like. So you can see this is kind of small, right? It's not the nicest looking thing in the world. It doesn't have like a lot of pictures, but it gives something of a basic thing. Obviously, I probably wouldn't leave it like this because everything's all stretched out and it's not as nice as it could look. but it does give you an idea of how you can segment this into multiple sections. You can kind of create something, and this could be rounded out to be a lot nicer. It's better than nothing though, so it's good to give just some basics so people can quickly look, get an idea. And honestly, this is short enough that anyone would probably be like, oh, I can actually read this. It's not going to like drown me out. Miscellaneous, here's where we get more important things. So let's start by doing this. First, we're going to activate all the slots. So first, make sure you click on each one, activate the slot. So now like I can actually do something with it. You have to write something for it to actually activate. Otherwise, it's going to stay like this unused. So let's put our first slot. Let's just put glasses because she has glasses. Has glasses on and clearly needs them. If they fall off, she can't see. Easy. Find a picture of glasses for the picture. Select a pair. Maybe not the red pair because that looks kind of weird. Let's pick this pair right here. There we go. We have glasses on. It's our first slot. We can see it right here. Nice. Next, for our next slot, let's activate it. Let's call it tired. Let's put a mug of coffee if we can find that. I think it's called Kappa. Ooh, I don't know. Cup, maybe. Might be under that. No. I think it'd be under mug. No. I can look at my other profile really quick, but you know what? Let's not worry about it. Let's just go under T and just put that down. We'll put this one down. Tired, often looking a bit sleepy, probably due to studying too late. There we go. Next, let's do this one. We'll say shy and awkward. And let's take a picture of, let's see, what would be good for shy and awkward. Let's pick a stuffed animal. Oh, you have something like that. Toy. Sometimes you have to kind of like look around different terms to find what fits for you. And let's put down, not that one, this one. A little on the awkward side. Good. Now, we don't have to fill out all of these. Let's not do all of them. Let's say currently is looking a bit nervous to talk to people. Give people an idea who she is. Other information, let's say add a character. We'll say 10 plus years experience. Actually, you know what? We don't need to start with. Let's start with, because this is like your new character. Let's start with practicing RP. Let's put in new profile. Let's put in friendly to all, no ERP, or you know what, we don't need to put, let's put in when we'll walk up, and let's put in temporary character. You know what, we don't want to put that in because again, I'm trying to simulate for you guys. So okay, I put in some things here, some basic ideas that I want. I'm new, like it's a new profile. I'm not saying I'm new to everyone. Oh, I should probably fix this typo. Okay, now let's go down here in character frequency. Let's say they are mid-time. So sometimes they're in character, sometimes they're not. Let's say with player permission, they accept injuries. With player permission, they accept death. Player permission, romance. That's usually what you probably want to go for. Let's say role battles for roleplay battles, guild membership. Let's say we don't show it because we're not really involved in the guild that we're doing. Okay, now I have a character. In this notes section, I could take notes for myself to remember things. I could also target other characters and I can make notes about them. So if they have a TRP, I can look at their information. I can go to notes and I can say notes from my character or just common notes I have and list things down. So I can say, oh, when I met them, how I met them. Very useful stuff for RP. Other useful TRP tools on your map, you can open this, scan for roleplay, scan for characters. And in the area you are in, all these little blue circles will tell you where people are role playing, like where their characters are. So you can see who's actually active. It'll change color depending on if they're selected as friends or not. And so you can do some pretty cool stuff. Now, I have my character, but I don't really look like my character. Let's go over how to make a basic look. So I'm trying to be someone who is a student, right? Someone who's studying. So I don't want to be in my investigator, like, you know, tough guy outfit. Instead, I probably want to be in something a little bit different. So let's get some glasses on, find a pair that really fit. This looks okay. Go for some big ones, look a little nerdy. Let's change this to being, let's say they're wearing like a cape. Let's go for a, do we want blue? Color would look good. Let's do black. We'll do one side that's black. We'll do a back cape that is black to go with it. Although the colors don't necessarily match super well because Blizzard. Oh, you know, we could do blue to get a little bit of a fancy color going on. Let's see. Do I have something to fit with that? Kind of. I could do that. Okay, so let's say they're blue. Since they're a little bit on the nerdy side, we probably want something that looks fitting for that. So let's take a look. We'll slap something together. Again, this is not going to be like perfect, but it is meant to just kind of get you an idea as to how you could begin. There we go. This could look okay. I might have some better robes. I know we recently put out a few robes because of the mop remix. So I think those are lower in the tier. Let me see what those are, because those could probably be better than this for selling something. That could be kind of nice. The red, the yellow. Ah, here we go. Let's go with this one. That looks good for a nerdy character. On their belt, let's look for something that has like a book on it. There we go. Easy. I already know that. We don't want something too crazy over here. So let's just remove that. For a weapon, let's give them a staff that looks like, you know, just a training staff. There we go. Okay, so now we have a mog that maybe could work. Let's change this off of this. Let's give them a watch, because sure. Okay, so now I created a mog. Now my character's looking a bit more like someone actually there, right? So now we have a profile, we have a look, and now we can start role-playing. Now, before you start your role-playing adventures, first, you probably want to make sure you're actually in character. So right now, I'm going to switch myself to be out of character so I can find a spot to start. Let's find a spot where people are active. So again, I can check here. I can do scan for characters. I'm going to see, okay, there's a lot of people like all over the place. Usually the park is a good spot. Let's head over to Lion's Rest and start over there. Now let's slap ourselves in character, and I'm going to start walking. I like to keybind that to backslash so I have an easy access to that. All right, so now I'm in character. Now I'm going to look around and I'm going to find someone to interact with. This person's OOC, so I don't really want to bother them. I'm not going to try to do an extended interaction, but I'm going to help you look at how you can interact with somebody just kind of randomly. It's called an Eternal Bimbo Doll. I probably don't want to jump onto them right now. Let's find something a little different if I can. I might end up running out of selections right now because it's a little bit still early, I guess. Let's do... Let's see. This guy looked at me. Let's do something here with this guy. So we're going to say approaches nervously and looks at the dwarf in front of her. She stares for a few seconds. on what is on his back. So let's see what happens. I'll put my snooper title on so we can do this. And we'll see if this guy picks up on the fact that I'm trying to, you know, pester him. I don't know if he will. We'll see. And I'll do a little hello, Mr. Sir. Sir, is that on your back? If I can ask, if that's okay. And let's see, maybe, because sometimes people might miss things. So maybe he's not aware that I'm approaching. Maybe he's a little distracted. I saw him open his map. We're going to see. If he doesn't get back to me in like a minute, then, or a minute, like, you know, a few minutes, then I'll move on. This guy's hanging around, so maybe he is considering roleplay. So maybe I'll pester him. We'll see what happens. And I can also see that this guy has TRP extended. Oh, he's kind of moving away. Oh, he might have just come back in and realized I was trying to pester him. Yep, he's targeted me. Now I know I've been seen. You can kind of see these things. Okay, so he says evening last. So now we can kind of go with it. And we'll say, okay, now I'm going to say I pushes her glasses up on her face. Evening. And sometimes I like to talk to myself as I write things out. It is evening. That is correct. She coughs and laughs. So, that thing on your back? So you see, I'm trying to go with a certain character. I'm exaggerating things. I think exaggeration can help sell a character, and it can kind of make you a little bit more interesting. You create something a little more endearing, and people can kind of start picking up on what you're putting down. My theory, and again, this is all theory, is that doing a little bit of exaggeration, like you would do in theater, is kind of key. Because most people, especially in random RP, they're not going to read your whole profile. They're not going to see everything you're about. So you have to sort of exaggerate a little bit, make it fun. I think that can help sell you a little bit and get you a little more engagement. Of course, there are different schools of thought. Some people prefer a lot more subtlety. Now, let's see. The guy's eyeing me up and down now. Now, let's see what happens next. Although I think somebody else eyed me up and down, actually. Because that was Tazendi, who I don't know who the heck that is. Okay, so here, we see what he says next. He turns his head right as he glances at the wooden eagle totem he's carrying on. This totem. Okay, so now he's curious why I'm curious. So now let's act awkward. Samana taps her fingers together in front of her. Well, I never saw one. Is it a carving for sale? Is it a cultural thing? Perhaps a lawn ornament, or perhaps an ornament for lawns or the park even. She squints behind her glasses, and then quickly adds, "It is very pretty, though. It looks like a lot of work, like a master craft of sorts. I imagine many years of woodworking would be required to make such a thing." She laughs nervously and steps back. I think. So I'm kind of going a little hard on the awkward theme, but my goal is to do that. Now, this is to show that even an awkward character who isn't normally one to approach can approach, right? She can do something. I created a character with the intent of being able to walk up to people, even though she's awkward, and see what they go with it. Now, if he doesn't want to pursue me or doesn't want to answer, I can awkwardly just vanish away and run off. But this is to give you an idea of how I can use the tools that are going on. Now you can see me here using Snooper. I mentioned that before my main video, but Snooper or Listener both let you keep track of what's going on. Snooper I prefer because Listener, the main part of it, it's all part of the same add-on called Listener, will show me everything going on, and I can check off what I've seen. I can kind of go on and kind of keep an eye on what's going on around me all at once. Pretty handy. Snooper, though, I feel is pretty natural in that I just hover over somebody and I can see what they've said recently, including myself, and I can keep track of the timestamp so I can know how long they're taking. Useful. Now we're seeing some main things in practice. Now let's say I wanted to save something, I wanted to check something. I could go to Elephant, I could go to Say Chat and see all the things that have been said recently, and I could copy some stuff if I want to take an idea from something, steal that over, copy it, and bring it over somewhere. This is a person that I actually know, that I RP with on my main character. So right now, they wouldn't know this character because I'm using a different profile. But yeah. And so it can take a little bit. All kinds of interesting people walk around. So maybe I'll pester someone else in a second. I don't have to right now. I think one example will be enough to kind of give you an idea of how this works, though. Because again, this is not somebody I know. I've never RP'd with this guy. At least I don't think I have. Yeah, I don't think I have. He's got several years of RP experience. He does paragraph RP, but he's adapting. He's not writing tons of paragraphs at me just because I walked up to him. I could set my relationship with him. So let's say I just keep it at neutral, right? That means I don't feel anything towards him, but it keeps track of that. So it'll be saved. And next time I look at his profile, I'll know I set him to neutral. I might want to set a note here and saying I met him and asked about his totem. Not hit totem, his totem. And then that will be saved. And so anytime I run into this guy, I will know that on this character, because this is Feng. And Feng is only, she's only going to be aware of that kind of stuff. Mana, my main actual character on this account, she's not going to know this guy. Okay, so now he's giving me a little bit more to work with. So let's read what he says. He says, Yolmir chuckles slightly. Oh, I see. Well, a special totem helps me connect to the elements, specifically the elements of air, which the eagle spirit can represent. Normally, they're carved out of sacred wood that grows high in the hinterlands. I imagine it are the same with this one, but I don't know much about its construction. I got it from an old shaman friend of mine. Well, before he disappeared anyway. I have a few options to go with this. He's given me a lot, which is really cool. You might also note he wrote with an accent. People tend to do that if they're supposed to have one. Usually, you want to be careful. Don't make it too hard to read. His is very easy to read, so that does show someone who's more experienced. So let's give him something to work with too. Let's make it fun. What you want to do is you want to focus on how to make them talk about themselves a bit, give them a little bit of energy back. So let's say Mana right now, she's going to be maybe she's going to feel bad that there's a friend who disappeared. Mana, let's say, awkwardly interlaces her fingers and looks down sheepishly. Oh. She frowns. A lost friend. That's horrible. I'm so sorry to bring up bad memory. Her glasses slide down, and she is forced to look up to adjust them. She smiles with obvious let's say anxiety, but tries to look the dwarf in the eyes. She probably stares at his mustache more than anything. And look, I made a spelling mistake, right? But look, hopefully, there we go, mustache fixed. But then I'll link back to what he's actually talking about. Does the totem assist Could I, or let's say, could I see the totem in action? Or would that be dangerous? Or blow me away in a storm? Or could you just make a small breeze? Does other wood have different effects? She starts to get going, to get more, she starts to get a little energy in her eyes, at least for a moment, before the shyness kicks back in. It took a little bit longer because I was kind of talking to you, but look, I've now given a little bit more. He feeds me something extra, I feed him something extra. I also am also doing that because what did I see when I looked at his profile? He's a multi-paragraph role player. Depending on how people prefer to do, you should adapt. Because I tend to pay attention to those things, it's something I might do. You don't have to write that much though. I could definitely have cut this down. I probably could have made it one paragraph. I probably could have done, you know, a simpler response. But again, if someone gives you the energy, you give a little bit back. It's just the right thing to do. Okay, so now we're kind of seeing how this starts to go. Now, maybe I'll take a little step to the side so I'm out of the way. So that way when people walk by, they're not staring at me. And while we're doing that, let's talk about something else that's kind of interesting. Oh, and this guy actually has Dice Master. Interesting. So Dice Master. I can show a little about this while we watch this RP. Dice Master is this sort of add-on that allows you to create a allows you to configure a sort of set of skills that your character can do. So for mine, I made my main character Mana a very like a tanky character, and I made her have certain traits. Now you make up these traits. Now if I look at his traits, he has Stormbringer, which gives him +2 strength. Which, you know, it's a little stronger than the way my stuff's set up, but again, Dice Master is very configurable. He has a thing that costs 3 energy that allows him to slam down a totem, and this is all just stuff that is designed for kind of like a D&D-esque campaign where you have stat boosts. Yours will be set up differently depending on who you're running with. So for example, this guy has like like in his bag, he's got all these passive things going on. He's got, you know, these different skills that are giving boosts to him. He's got an ultimate, 1 per event. He's got this, you know, this crazy thing that looks super long to write. So everyone can kind of create their own things. He's got a certain amount of health, as well as temporary health. He's got some magic. You can kind of configure everything with Dice Master. But you have to have like an agreed upon setup. Otherwise, it's just not going to work. Because these two characters probably wouldn't be compatible because his setup definitely has a different thing going on. Mine, I have mostly passives and instants and like a one-time use ultimate. Mine are all Sherlock Holmes references because my main character is a private investigator. But like, for example, like mine are like, it's like discombobulated, costs a certain amount of energy. I use my chi to strike twice rapidly, dealing 1d4 damage. And then if someone else follows up, it does an additional 1d4 up to 2 times because it reverberates. And then I can use chi, which is like an energy resource that my character can build up in order to apply it from a distance, but it deals no initial damage. And then I have something that gives me some defensives to other people, and basically just a lot of skills that are focused around that. Now you have to create these, you have to write down what they do. Usually you establish like, okay, there's a few roles, like are you a tank role, a DPS role? Usually people have like limits, like, okay, what's the amount of damage you can reasonably do in 1 turn? But then you can get kind of creative with it. Then you have a skills list under Dice Master, and you can put in points. So for example, we had a limited amount, so I was like, okay, my character's more charisma based. They have some strength, some wisdom. Their con is basic, but then their dex is just kind of normal, and their int is not super high. And then I have like, you know, bonuses based on those. And then we also have professions, which I put in some points into because my group is going to be doing that. So it's basically like a D&D sort of thing going on. You can even have a pet. But you configure all this kind of stuff, and it's something kind of interesting to do. It's a fun add-on, but it does require quite a bit of work and kind of setup. and you really have to build it based on the group you're running with. Also, right now you have to get it off of GitHub, so kind of annoying. But it is kind of cool to see it in action, and it gives you some, like, you know, bonuses to rolls. It gives you more of a D&D feel. All right, let's see what our guy said. So Hjolmir waves a hand dismissively. Oh, it's all right. I learned a lot from the land, and I appreciate the time we spent together. Hjolmir would then arch a brow and turn his head over his shoulder, glancing at the totem. Well, it's not anything fancy, really. Mostly it helps me get a clearer and sharper connection with the elemental spirits of air. Besides that, it can unleash some elemental energy to make me and my allies' attack hit harder and faster, but all you'd really see is me swinging my hammers around quickly. He chuckled a bit at the thought of it. So now let's have Mana react a little bit, you know, complimentary. Let's try to be, like, positive. Let's say Mana smiles at this and nods. Let's give her a little bit of depth. I know what you mean, I think. I mean, maybe similar. She clasps her hands. She looks to the side. I had a teacher who also vanished away. Still, I feel great respect and admiration for him. I wish, I do miss him though. She takes a breath and looks down as her glasses once again slide. I think I understand. The power of wind is not always so obvious. Yes. It changes the world, but we cannot hold it in our hands, or she laughs nervously. Well, we can feel it in our hands, but its power is not as visible as something like fire, yet it is no less potent, which is probably useful in combat. She she nervously giggles. I don't much like combat, so yes, if I had such powers, I would probably just use it to dry my fur after baths. She blushes. She pauses and laughs nervously. And no, she pauses and clears her throat, realizing the potential awkwardness of such a statement. She tenses. So again, I'm giving back some energy. I took a little long to respond to this, so that's a little bit my bad there. His last response was, let's see. Oh no, his last response was 3 minutes ago. Okay, so I didn't do too bad there. So, you know, again, I was able to do 1, 2, 3, 4 lines, even though I was still talking a little bit while he posted, and I gave him some energy back, and we're both keeping at a decent pace. So this is really kind of how you want to initiate. Now, look, I'm discovering things about this guy pretty quickly. Because I'm asking questions based on what he's saying. Now, this is obviously very basic social skills, but I want to show it to people how easy it is. Just ask about somebody. Play your character up a little bit. Make it a little clear for someone if you're first meeting them. You show them, you know, this guy was looking at his map and probably ready to leave. He was jumping around a little bit before I ran into him. Now we're both engaged. Now I'm actually curious about this guy. He's got some cool stuff going on, right? He's friendly, he's nice. A lot of people are going to be like that. Some won't be. But because I've found a person that's giving me like energy back, I'm not going to just walk away from him because this is some good role play. Now, if I walked up to somebody and they took 7 minutes and they're like, yeah, it's magic. It's my totem. It's just magic. That sucks. he gave me something. He told me like, oh, it comes from sacred wood. It's the eagle. He's giving me a lot of details. Look for people like that when you roleplay, and you're going to have a good time. Okay, so we looked a little bit at Dice Master. We've looked at TRP. Let's briefly look at Musician here while I'm sitting around. Oh, not Method Ray tools. Musician. So with Musician, it's important to realize you can do previews so you don't like blast people with sound. Let's preview the Moogle song. So now you can hear it kind of playing, maybe. Now I can edit songs and I can choose what sort of instruments are playing. I can change the octaves and I can save these changes so something sounds better. This Moogle one is just one instrument, but there's some that have a lot more going on. So let's go with this one. This is Battle on the Big Bridge with Gilgamesh from Final Fantasy V. This has a lot of different instruments going on. Now, if I don't like one, maybe I don't like, I can mute something. And I can take things out, or I can change the instrument that is actually playing. Let's take a different song. It's a little bit easier to mess with. Let's do... Let's play with I Don't Want to Set the World on Fire. I can switch it to a Kusang. It sounds different. I can make it a pipe organ. And you can see how it changes. I can save it. I can change the octaves. Now, sometimes that can sound bad depending. But play around with it because some instruments will sound better than others. What did I have it on? It was originally a piano. There. And we'll stop that. All right, now let's see what this guy responded to me with. He said, Hilmir nods. Exactly. For me, I've always tried to gain a close affinity for the elements. For one, most shamans among the Wildhammer find themselves out in combat. So like he said, it's very useful in that regard. He smirked, silently recalling a few memories of the spirit's aid in battle. But also, I'm really close to our people's griffins and fly them often. It's good to have the air's blessing when you're flying around, especially in the mountains where the weather can change extremely quickly. So he's being nice and not like making me feel awkward for my stupid comments, which is cool. You know, he's trying to be nice. So let's have Mana kind of gain a little confidence here. And let's say Mana nods eagerly. And seems and leans a bit closer. Oh, for flight. She removes her glasses and uses a cloth to clean them. So her eyes squint as she tries to keep them on the dwarf politely. So, would they also be useful for boats and the like sailors? You could help direct a ship with enough power. She replaces her glasses. You must be highly requested. Highly requested. Must be highly requested. But if you want to use other elements, you said the totem only helps. Would you have a harder time with others? Or would you carry different totems? I'm giving a slightly smaller response. Not that much smaller. But again, keep the conversation rolling. I think this demonstrates a pretty good amount of kind of the essence of RP. And I think I've given a little bit as to how you can use some of the basic tools here. So hopefully that helps you if you were a little bit nervous about actual application. This is 40 minutes, mostly of me RPing with one person, but also making a character, showing you how to set it up. And look, this guy, and I want to be clear, this guy, let's see what his notes say. He's had several years of RP experience, right? He's a multi-paragraph RPer. He probably has some degree of standards. Now, he doesn't have like a super filled out thing, right? Like it's pretty basic, but basic is really all you need. Some people will have a little bit more. Some people will have a lot more. It really just depends on your character. Also, I don't think I actually put in my stats here, but that's okay. So you can see even with limited amounts of information put in, you can really get going with RP and have meaningful connections. I think this is pretty meaningful. I'm meeting somebody, I'm having a good time. He's not turned me down. Oh, look, I can see old things. He's not turning me down. He's not been rude. And we're both having like a nice little encounter. And part of it is, again, you just need to sell yourself right. So have a mog that fits. Even if my thing's kind of clashing, it's not really color coordinated, but like, look, I picked a cape that has like some writing on it. Why? It fits that sort of like, oh, like wannabe lore walker thing. But she's not wearing a lore walker tabard because she's not one yet. A few flowing capes, some robes, it gives you that scholarly vibe. I have a book and some other things, a watch on. It all sort of sells the character as what they present themselves as. Doing that really helps you a lot, even if it doesn't always color coordinate. You look at this guy and instantly you can tell, okay, this is a shaman. You can see that. You can see he's got his wild hammer stuff kind of going. It's very much important to really try and get that across. Do your best with that, and I think everything else will follow, especially as a novice role player. Now, as I become more friendly with this guy, and maybe I share a name with him, I'm probably going to move him up from neutral to friendly. I'm going to say, oh, this is somebody I know. This is somebody that I've met. And later I might say, we shared a pleasant chat. If I can actually write, pleasant chat about former teachers, a missing shaman, a missing friend of his, how he uses the wind in combat, how he uses it to aid in flight. So this is just something quick. Now, what I'm going to do after this is, in order to disengage, I'm going to create an excuse. Now, sometimes this is good to do if you run out low on time. Sometimes it's good to do just to keep yourself rolling so you don't get locked into one event. Maybe you want to meet a few people. People will remember you, and then this is, again, more social advice. People will remember you better if you make a good lasting impression. You don't tire them out. You kind of give them something fun, and then, you come back a little bit later. So I'm going to wait a moment here, let him get through his next reply, and then I'm going to disengage by saying something like, oh, look at the time, or something like that. I'm planning ahead. Plan ahead as you roleplay. If something surprises you, of course, work with it. Like if he suddenly tells me something really deep and personal, I'm probably not going to be like, oh, nice story, sawed off, and then run. But by doing that, he's probably gonna, if I was staying like using this character more often, he'd probably be interested in knowing me more. So let's see. Okay, let's see what he says. Colbert tugs at his beard and thought, I haven't actually thought of that before, but that would definitely work. He cleared his throat before continuing. Well, my relationships with each of the elements are different. Air is the one I have the most favor with. I have a wee bit of affinity with the spirits of water and earth, nay much with fire. Totems may help me gain favor with the spirits, but to use the totem as a conduit to channel elemental power, you need to have a good mastery of the elements first. Otherwise, it may end up going south for you. So let's do something where this character shows some insight and understanding. Mana beams and seems happy. She said something potentially insightful. She is quick to get to shy away again, though. She's quick now. Let's say she's quick. She blurts out, well, you seem Well, you seem... Well, it's not that she puts out. She listens intently. A wee bit of any fire totally. That is so... That's fascinating. That favor. I really need... let's say... I really need to learn more about the spirits. It sounds such a fascinating field of research. Though, she sighs, I'm sure there are plenty of books on it already. Still, thank you. Thank you for being so open. She glances at her watch. I would love to stay, but I need to check in. I check in for some lessons. Perhaps if I see you, I could speak again, if that's okay. I don't know what happened to my phone, it was just activating there. If that's okay. She bows and her glasses fall off. And she scrambles to get them. She struggles a bit. She struggles to locate them. Now I'm going to remove my glasses. They actually show up, and I'm going to kneel down and pull a classic Velma, you know, where are my glasses? Oh, please watch your step. Also, that was rude. Now let's see if he helps me. Reaches around. Now let's see, we'll give him a second. It was nice. Give me a second before you step. Oh, and I'm Thing. Reaches and grabs her glasses. And puts them back on. So maybe, you know, maybe he didn't notice that I said I dropped my glasses. Maybe he saw the goodbye thing going, and he's like, this person's trying to leave. But we'll give him a second, give him one more response. Probably say his name, and then I'm gonna run off. So sometimes someone might miss something you did. Sometimes they might just react in a way you don't expect. That's fine. Just roll with it. It wasn't hard for me to be like, oh, give me a second, put a quick chat out just so they're aware that you're doing something different. Maybe he's reading it over now. Who knows? But it's just something like that. I'm gonna let this scene finish out, and then I'll end the video. This is going to be another hour-long video, but it is something that can be a little bit more fun, and so you see how add-ons are ultimately used, which I think is a valuable bit of insight. So he tells me here, you know, oh, his name is Jormir. It's good to meet me. He doesn't find himself in Stormwind much unless he's on business, but if you have more questions about the spirits, we could maybe write and arrange a time for our paths to cross. So then Mana will be, not Mana, but Fang will nod. I wouldn't write down Mana before. Ooh, that'd be rough if I did. So we'll say nods and hands over nods and smiles genuinely. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hjolmir. I think I spelled it right. Make sure HJ. Oh, hello, Mir. I will be sure. I'll be sure to. I will see if I can send you some things. Here is my mailing address. He hands out a card with some basic information on it. And then quickly scurries away as and then quickly looks at her watch, internally screams, and runs off. Okay. And then I'll say, always I like to do this, send them a message and say thanks for the RP. Because it's nice to do that, put it in parentheses to show that it's out of character. And this is something called WIM. It is WoW instant messaging. It makes your whispers look like little IM windows, so it's easy to keep track of what people are saying. Now, since I'm done, they said thank you for the RP as well. It was fun. So we had a cute little session. It was fast, well, fast for RP. And now that I'm done, I probably want to switch myself out of character, and I'm going to switch my profile back to my default one, and then I'll just show something really quick with that. So back to my default character. So now I'm back to Mana. Now I'm going to change my outfit away. But here you can see, this is my about section, a little bit more filled out on that character with a lot more history. I have a lot more personal notes about things that are going on. Everything is a lot more well-rounded. But again, you don't need to have all these details. I try not to make it too jam-packed, because that's also not a good thing. Now I'm going to save this outfit. I think I'm using an add-on, I think. Let's see. Some of you might ask about that. It's called Better Wardrobe. That lets me have all these different saved looks. A lot more than you could normally have. So I could take this current one that I have and I could save this as, I don't know, nerdy clothes. And now whenever I want to switch into it, I have it listed right here. So I could quickly select this and have my, my scholar look. And then I also have a bunch of other looks for my investigator. I have some casual looks. I have some that are more, dressed up. It's good to have a few outfits. I use certain things a lot. My investigator also uses the book, but by having a completely different appearance, it does drastically change what your character really is going for. So with that in mind, hopefully you got a good idea as to how to RP, what it can look like, some theory that comes from somebody who's RP'd for a while, and how to engage with somebody. Granted, that was one example, but really with anybody, you can apply a lot of the principles I put forth there. You go in, you say hello, you talk a little bit, you get some information, you share a little bit of yours, and then you move out. All very nice and convenient. All right, everybody, that's all.